This is the oldest surviving work of epic literature, written over 4,000 years ago in ancient Mesopotamia. And today we're going to read it, kinda? This epic poem called the Epic of Gilgamesh has everything. Larger-than-life heroes, mythical beasts, an all-time great friendship, betrayal, loss, despair, hope, acceptance. It's got everything except maybe a happy ending. But even that is debatable. Let's talk about it. Welcome to Esoterisphere. The Epic of Gilgamesh was written in the ancient Near East in what is now modern-day Iraq. It was inscribed in a kind of ancient cuneiform on clay tablets, most complete version of which was found in the 19th century in the ruins of the Assyrian city of Nineveh. We think the original version of the poem was composed around 2100 BCE, though it was revised many times after. The main character, Gilgamesh, is introduced as the king of Uruk, a great warrior, but also two-thirds god and only one-third man. And it's his combination of godlike power and human frailty that makes him so compelling. He rules over his city with strength and arrogance, which annoys the gods, who then create a wild man named Enkidu to come to the city and humble him. The wild man lives in the wilderness and hangs out with animals. In fact, the author specifically says that he lives in the steppe with the beasts of the field, eating grass and drinking water. This is a pretty extreme origin story for a dude whose primary occupation is wrestles Gilgamesh. But it's necessary because the civilizing force that will bring Enkidu into society, thereby making him capable of wrestling Gilgamesh, is a temple priestess who gives him a bath and shaves his hair and nails. No word on whether or not she did this with or without his consent. A bit of a weird power dynamic there. Anyway, after being civilized, Enkidu heads to Uruk to meet Gilgamesh, who thinks that someone is coming to pay tribute to him. But Enkidu says, "Nah, bro, we wrestle." And Gilgamesh is like, "Oh, okay." And they do. And it is a pretty epic battle. The two men fight for 6 days, but neither one can claim a victory, so they end up just being friends and eventually go on some heroic adventures together. In fact, their first adventure together is slaying Humbaba, the giant guardian of the cedar forest, whose name literally means "he who causes terror." Now, slay Humbaba is definitely a victory for our heroes, but it comes with a caveat. See, the goddess Ishtar is interested in Gilgamesh and asks him to marry her. He's like, "Ah, no thanks, babe." And he really puts her in her place when he compares her to a scorpion goddess who pinned down a lioness in a cave, saying, "You are but a lioness. How could I, the slayer of Humbaba, consort with you?" Ishtar is, of course, offended by these remarks and goes straight to her papa, the sky god Anu, to complain. She's like, "Hey, Dad, you gotta do something about this Gilgamesh guy. He's, like, totally insulting me." And Anu's like, "Ugh, fine, whatever. Here's the bull of heaven. You send that at him and he'll be, like, totally dead." And Ishtar's like, "Thanks, Dad. Love you." So she sends the bull of heaven to wreak havoc in Uruk, where Gilgamesh and Enkidu, of course, defeat it. And this time the gods aren't too happy about it. Gilgamesh and Enkidu have slain Humbaba, one of their own, and they killed the bull of heaven, a literal manifestation of one of their own. So they're both getting condemned to death, but it seems that Gilgamesh is able to plead his case and get his punishment reduced to banishment from Uruk. For Enkidu, though, there's no escaping death. And if you've ever had a friend die, you know it sucks. But if you've never had a friend die, let me tell you, it absolutely sucks. Like, Gilgamesh is devastated. He is inconsolable. He fears that his own mortality is inescapable, and he doesn't want to keep living. At one point, he laments, "I who was like a god, how can I be made like unto the dead? How can I, who was like a god, be brought low to the dust?" This is not the first time in human history someone has feared death and felt like they were cursed to it, nor will it be the last. But eventually, Gilgamesh pulls himself together and sets out on a journey to find Utnapishtim, a man who survived a great flood and was granted immortality. Because if anyone knows how to beat death, it's probably the dude who beat death. Along his journey, he meets some interesting folks, like Siduri, the tavern keeper who tells him to stop worrying so much and just enjoy his life. And Urshanabi, the boatman who ferries him across the waters of death, though that's a little harder than it seems because Urshanabi loses all his oars in the water and needs to go back and get them. When Gilgamesh finally reaches Utnapishtim, he asks him to share the secret of immortality, and Utnapishtim does. But before he does, he tells Gilgamesh the story of the flood, which is actually a pretty compelling early version of the Noah narrative. Basically, the gods are fed up with humanity, so they decide to destroy all life on Earth with a great flood. But Utnapishtim, heeding the advice of a friend who happens to be a god, builds a big boat and takes all the animals on board, and they survive. Afterwards, the gods feel bad about killing all those innocent animals, so they make a covenant with Utnapishtim promising that there would never again be a flood to destroy all life on Earth. And in exchange, Utnapishtim reveals the secret of immortality. It came to me in a dream. A god told me, "Go build a boat for yourself, make 7 compartments in her, fill them with seed grain, with birds, beasts, reptiles, fish, and take aboard 7 pairs of every kind. Take aboard your wife and male and female servants, that they may propagate mankind upon earth." Utnapishtim took all these instructions and did exactly as he was told, and the moment the rain began to fall, he took off the lid of the chest which he had made, cast it away, and dove into the sea with it. But here's the kicker. Gilgamesh is like, "Sweet, thanks for the story, but what's the secret to immortality?" And Utnapishtim's like, dude, it's right there. I literally just said a god told me to build a boat and then gave me the instructions to do it. And then I built it and I was immortal. Like, I don't know how else to say it. And Gilgamesh is still like, "Yeah, but how do I get immortal?" And Utnapishtim's like, "Dude, that's the story. It's not like you can just ask for it. It's a divine gift. You can't demand it." So he gives Gilgamesh a little test. If he can stay awake for 7 days and nights without sleeping, then he'll grant him the secret. But obviously he fails and becomes mortal. Not to be outdone, though, Utnapishtim grants him a second chance, telling him that somewhere in the mountains lives a magical plant that will restore him to youth if he can get it. So Gilgamesh takes a little hike, finds the plant, grabs it, and then promptly loses it to a giant serpent. Back in Uruk, Gilgamesh accepts his fate and reflects on his city's great walls, realizing that it's his legacy that will live on long after he's gone. He says, "While the world lasts, these walls shall stand. Let them be my grave and tomb. For who shall dig them up or lay bare the mound of earth that covers me? No one. I shall pass away, become a thing of the past, yet these walls shall never pass away. They shall not grow old like me, they shall not perish with me. I built them in my own day and did all their work. My own hands mixed the mortar." As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and let me know what you thought of the Epic of Gilgamesh in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, please consider liking and subscribing. It really helps the channel out. Stay safe.